All right, today we're going to solve equations that have fractions. Yay! Everybody loves fractions, right? Okay, maybe not. Maybe fractions aren't much fun. So, let's bust them. Today I'm going to give you a strategy to get rid of fractions so we can solve them without having to worry about that. So we're going to do something called fraction busting. But now you have to be careful. You can only do this if there's an equal sign and the equation is equal to something. In other words, you can only do this if you are balancing an equation. If it looks like 1x plus x over 3 is equal to, and you're just trying to figure out what it's equal to, you cannot use fraction busting. There isn't anything there to balance. It isn't equal to a number. So you can only use it if you have two sides of an equation that you're trying to balance, and you're trying to find that magic number that balances the equation. So let's consider this. We have 3 over 5 is equal to x over 5. So, what value could x be in order to balance this? And you go, well, Mrs. Woolley, that's kind of a dumb question. X has to be 3. I mean, 3/5 is equal to 3/5. All right, let's build upon that. How about this next one? X plus 3 divided by 7 is equal to 2 divided by 7. What value of x would make this equation balanced? Well, we want x plus 3 to say 2. So we can figure that out, and we're going to say, well, -1. -1 plus 3 is 2, and then I have 2 sevenths equals 2 sevenths. So think about this. What we're saying then is, if the denominators are the same, if they're already balanced, all we really have to do is figure out and solve the numerators, what's on the top. All right, so let's consider this one. We have 3/5 is equal to x over 10. Now, our denominators are not balanced, and we're trying to figure out what x is going to be. So here's our strategy. Let's balance the denominators first. Let's get the denominators balanced, and then we're going to worry about the numerators. So how can we balance the denominators? Well, just like we balance both sides of the equation, where we have to do both things on both sides of the equal sides, we can do the same thing if we balance the top and the bottom of the equation. And the way that we can do that is only by multiplying. We're going to multiply each fraction by the same number on the top and the bottom. So if I multiply the top and the bottom of this fraction by 2, now wait a minute, Mrs. Woolley, how can you do that? How can we just randomly decide to make 2? Well, all right, 2 times 5 gives me 10. That's what I'm trying to get. And think about this. What is 2 divided by 2? Well, that's just 1. All I'm really doing is multiplying that fraction by 1. I can multiply any fraction I want by 1. It doesn't change the equation. So when I do this, I'm balancing the top and the bottom, multiplying them both by 2, and what I get is 6/10. And now the bottoms are the same. I know that x has to be 6. Okay, so once the denominators are balanced, we're just solving the numerator just like before. But remember, you can only balance fractions if you're multiplying the same number top and bottom. So consider this. A lot of us want to add top and bottom. Oh, as long as we're doing the same thing, it should be okay, right? So let's take 2/3. And let's say I'm going to add top and bottom. I know I told you not to do it, but let's just see what happens. So I'm going to add 1 to the top and the bottom. I mean, that's balancing it, right? And if I do that, I get 3/4. Well, wait a minute. I started with 2/3. And now I have 3/4. Those are definitely not the same fraction. So adding or subtracting the same number is not going to work. We can only multiply. All right, so let's take another example. So now I have 1/5 minus 1/5 times x is equal to -2/5. And I want to figure out the value of x that balances this equation. And what's really bothering me is that x, I'm just not really sure what is 1/5 times x. So we're going to rewrite it. Remember, we can just bring that x right up to the top, and let's rewrite this as 1/5 minus 1x over 5, and suddenly that makes more sense. Now I look at this and I say, well, my denominators, they're already balanced. So all I got to do is solve the top. All right, so if I don't need the denominators anymore, if they're already balanced, then let's bust them. Let's just cross them out. Let's just focus on solving the numerators. All right, that's really the problem we have now, right? And so we're going to do the math. I'm going to pause for a minute because I know you can do this. Finish solving this and tell me what x is equal to. All right, if we've done this correct, we should have got x equals 3. And that makes sense because 1/5 minus 3/5 is going to give me negative 2/5. So this works. So we're going to use this concept on anything that has fractions. So so our steps here is that we're going to find the common denominator. And that is, what number can all the denominators multiply to get? Which means that number can't be smaller than the biggest number on the bottom. Okay? We're going to multiply every fraction top and bottom by the same number. And every fraction can be multiplied by a different number, as long as it's the same number top and bottom. Once those denominators are balanced, we can cross them out, bust them because they're already balanced, and then we can solve for the numerator. All right, so here's our next problem. We have x over 15 minus 1/5 is equal to 3/5. Now, my denominators are not balanced, so let's balance the top and the bottom first. So I'm looking at these numbers, 15 and 5. Okay, I can only do this by multiplying, so I know it's got to be 15 or bigger. And I know if I multiply 5 by 3, I get 15. So I'm going to multiply the second fraction by 3 top and bottom. Okay, so what I'm really doing is multiplying those fractions by 1. And I'm balancing the tops and the bottoms. So when I do that, multiplying them top and bottom, I get x over 15 minus 3/15 is equal to 9/15. All right, now my denominators are balanced. I don't need them anymore, so we're going to bust them. And now we only need to solve for x. And of course, we can do that one in our head. We get that x was 12. All right, well, let's take a little more challenging one. This time, we're going to balance our denominators. First, we're looking at this. We got a 6, we got a 3, and we got a 2. Well, we know it has to be at least 6, because it can't get any smaller than that. And I look at my 3 and my 2. Oh, wait a minute. 3 times 2 will give me 6. 6 is my common denominator. Okay, so, but I'm going to rewrite this because that x is really bothering me when it looks like that. I'm going to move the x up to the top. Okay, now I'm going to multiply everything by the common denominator. I don't need to do anything with that first fraction. It's already got a 6 on the bottom. I'm going to multiply the second fraction by 2 over 2. I'm going to multiply that last fraction by 3 over 3. And when I do that, I'm going to get all the bottoms the same, which is going to be 6. Beautiful. And now I don't need them anymore, so let's cross them out. And we're just going to solve the top. Now I'm going to pause here for a minute and let you guys finish this, because I know you can do this. Get an answer, check with your buddies, make sure you got this, and let's check. All right, well, that was an easy one too. That was 17. So let's do something more challenging. This is a fake out question. We look at this and we go, oh yeah, the bottoms are balanced. We can cross them out. But you have to make sure that every term has a bottom. And 3, well, wait a minute. 3 is just 3. So let's rewrite this as a fraction. You can write any whole number as a fraction if you put it over 1. 3 divided by 3 is 3 divided by 1 is just 3. So here's the thing. Everything has to have a bottom. It has to have a denominator. So 3 has to have a denominator too, and the denominator is 1. Now when I look at this, I can see, oh, this is not balanced. I need to multiply that 3 over 1 by 5. Okay, so I multiply the top and the bottom to keep them balanced. And when I rewrite it, I get 15 over 5, and that makes sense because 15 divided by 5 is the same as 3. Now my bottoms are the same. Now I can bust the denominators, and I can finish solving this, and you get, we might have to take a minute for this one. Check with your buddies. We get 24. All right, ladies and gentlemen, here's one for you to try. So I'm going to pause here for a moment. You're going to check with your buddies. You're going to make sure you agree on an answer. And then come back and we'll check the answer. And if you've done it right, you should have had that x is equal to -4. All right, this is what we're going to work on in class today. We're going to have problems like this that involve fractions. Make sure you are balancing the top and the bottoms only by multiplication. Make sure that every number has a denominator. If it doesn't, make it over 1. Good luck!